Heart of Stone by Suzi Quatro. Suzi is with me now on Revenge of the 80s Radio. Suzi, your music has been described in many ways. Hard rock, offshoot, rock genres like psychedelic, Britpop rock. But how would you describe Suzi Quatro music from the 70s, 80s, and into today?
I always have seen myself as a pretty much straightforward rock and roller, not a lot of frills, not fancy. What you see is what you get.
Now, we talked about in the last segment you're having big hits around the world. It was a little slow, as you also mentioned, to hit the charts in the U.S. for a while, but that would change. You were offered an acting role on a popular TV series, Happy Days. Gary Marshall apparently saw your picture.
Yes, it was actually his sister, Ronnie Hallen, who was the casting director, and her daughter had my cover of Rolling Stone on her bedroom wall. And they were looking for this part for about 2 years. I think they had this role written, and Ronnie Hallen said, "Who is that? That's exactly what we're looking for." And before you know it, I was over there auditioning.
Gary Marshall's a brilliant producer. He's known to make his decisions on untested hunches, and he really made a great one at this time.
Yeah, he's been very lovely. He's written me some nice quotes for my book, and he's always been very supportive. He just had a feeling I would fit in, and I did. And if you talk to any of the other cast members, Ronnie Howard says it all the time, she wasn't like a newcomer. You know, it was like I'd always been on the show. That was the feeling.
I read that, yes, and he was in the business for a long time already.
Yeah, sure.
That got more American audiences to hear your music, and that was the big thing. Stumbling In with Chris Norman also became a big hit, too, here in America.
Yeah, that was a million seller in America, Stumbling In. That was a good one, yeah. And that was right just after Happy Days, too. Just after I started Happy Days, I should say.
One of my favorite Leather Tuscadero episodes, Suzi, was the one where you and the main character's band played at a hunter's lodge in the winter.
I know, I love that one, too.
You introduced Leather and the Suedes and the band. The running joke was that they should really get a name.
Yeah, we kept that in. That my favorite one on that episode is that I said to Ronnie Howard, I said, while we're doing Johnny Be Good, I said, because he was learning the guitar, he learned how to play the solo because he wanted to make it look real. I said, why don't you just do the duck walk like Chuck Berry out and get covered in snow and come back? And it was hilarious.
I love that one. Right out the door, comes back in, snow all over the place. You were next to him, but you didn't get the snow.
No, I didn't get the snow, no.
No, you just stayed in the door. You were the smarter one.
I was.
Incidentally, just out of curiosity, did your British band have a name in the early UK years?
No, it's still the same running joke on Happy Days. It's just Suzi Quatro. You know, there's never been a name for my band. It was Mickey Mo said that right away. When we first were just going to put our first single out, he said, it's the band, but you're called Suzi Quatro.
So it's Suzi Quatro and the band, Leather Tuscadero and the Suedes, and the band. How much of the real Suzi Quatro was inside Leather Tuscadero? And we know you weren't in jail.
No. I think whenever you do a role, you try to find something that connects with you, that also connects with the character. So I was able to pull out the young Suzi on that, you know, the bit of the rebel that I was and all that kind of stuff. And, yeah, I tried to play it for real as much as I could. But, I mean, it wasn't me. I mean, it was a role. I read the lines as they wrote them. But to make it real, you've got to play it real.
You even turned around Sheriff Kirk, so, yeah.
I did.
There we go.
It's called charm. Charm in a good script.
Speaking of which, there were several spin-offs from Happy Days, and there were lots, and they were hits, most of them, aside from maybe Blansky's Beauties and Joni Loves Chachi. But I always thought a Leather Tuscadero-centric show might have worked.
Well, they did actually offer me a spin-off series, but I was having more hits at the time. If You Can't Give Me Love was going big all around the world, except for America, but big. It was just before Stumbling In, that was, same album. And Henry was always moaning about how he had to be the Fonz for the rest of his life. And when they offered me a spin-off, I kind of thought maybe I've done enough as Leather, you know? Maybe I've done enough as that character.
That makes a lot of sense. On your acting, Suzi, post-Leather, you made several TV appearances, including one memorable spot on Absolutely Fabulous.
I've done a few different TV shows. I don't know how many you got in the States. Yeah, Ad Fab was one. That was great. And I'm happy to say Jennifer Sanders let me just do what I wanted to with the script, which was hilarious. She's great. I did a show called Minder. I did another show called Dempsey and Makepeace, which I believe you had there. And I did another one called Midsummer Murders. You know, I've had 2 major roles in 2 big theater productions. And yeah, then I've had my own talk show. I've had my own radio show since 1999 on BBC Radio 2. So I'm kind of, although rock and roll is my touchstone, I'm kind of an all-rounder.
Well, in 1991, you wrote and starred on stage in Tallulah Who, about Tallulah Bankhead. How did her story inspire you to write a musical about her life?
She was, I was fascinated by her since seeing her on a talk show in the 60s. And she was right near the end of her life then. And I read a couple books. She fascinated me because I don't think anybody knew her. And I wanted to try to dig inside her and see who she was.
Overall, what were some of your favorite acting roles?
I loved Happy Days. It fit me perfectly. I loved doing Annie and Annie Get Your Gun. That was a great role for me. And probably my most challenging was probably Tallulah, to bring her to life, you know.
I'm still putting the Dream Nurse up top, but I'm a big fan of Absolutely Fabulous, so...
Yeah, that was more just a quick comedy cameo. That's why I didn't include that, but it was fun. And I wasn't really playing a part on that. I was playing myself.
Oh, I know. I just really enjoyed seeing that one.
Yeah, it was good fun.
Yeah. Suzi Quatro is with me on Revenge of the 80s Radio. Chris Cordani here. Straight ahead, we'll talk to Suzi about what she's doing today.